AI is coming to eat your lunch. Now, what are you going to do about it? Look, guys, I broke out the boomer chair for this. Every time we do one of these videos, always in the comments, stick to cars, stick to engines, talk about pistons. We do that, but also we do this type of video too because, you know what? I've lived a long life. I've had a lot of experiences and I've got perspective on stuff. And I feel that it's important if you can help people, if you maybe get the wheels turning in their head or point them in the right direction, help point them in the right direction, that it's my obligation to do that. So we do this sort of video. And I want to talk about AI. Actually, I want to talk about a bigger concept, one that has been, it's a phrase that's been used a lot over the last several years. A phrase called the Great Reset, which for most people, for most normies, this fits under the category of conspiracy. But as we have found out now, the difference between conspiracy and reality is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Right? Remember back in the day, you used to talk about things like the deep state, and people were like, that's the most ridiculous thing that could ever possibly be. And now it's just common knowledge. Yes, there's a deep state, and it's deeper than you ever imagined it was. So the Great Reset is not just a phrase, it's not just a conspiracy, it's an ongoing process that's been happening for many years now, but now it's reaching a point of critical mass. And the normies are starting to get it, they're starting to realize. Because life as they've known it, life as it was supposed to be for them, as they imagined it would be, well, they're realizing that it was all a scam. Everything that has been projected as, let's say, presented as normal, as you know, oh, this is the way it is, you know, this is how it's supposed to be. They're realizing now it was all a scam. They're realizing that the monetary system is a scam. They're realizing that the media is a scam. They're starting to realize that the history that they've been taught is just a series of lies that were agreed upon. They're realizing that the life that was promised to them wasn't really for them. It was to feed the corporate overlords, keep them happy and keep, you know, the average person under the gun, under the knife, you know. So now the average person, the normies, are waking up and they're realizing, hey, wait a minute, I can't afford to live anymore. I can't afford food. I can't send my kid for braces. I can't keep the lights on. People are realizing now that things are changing. What they thought was normal is no longer normal. It'll never be normal again. And now AI has entered the discussion. Because again, AI has been around for a long time. We've been dealing with it for a long time, but it hasn't been in your face. Nobody's been threatened by AI until this point. And now they're starting to realize my job, the one that I went to school for, the one that I took student loans for, the one that, you know, is supposed to take care of me until old age till I can retire at 65 and then die covered in cobwebs at 75. Well, that's in danger now, right? So they're starting to realize. And the average person is reaching the breaking point. So when I say breaking point, I don't mean that they're all going to just suddenly start pulling their hair out and screaming and yelling in the streets. Although there's a lot of that going on. But breaking point meaning that they're unplugging and they're realizing that there's more to life, more to, you know, having a successful life than what's been sold to them through the media, through the television programming, through the institutions. They're reaching a breaking point. But it's kind of, it's like, it's too little, too late. Like the genie is out of the bottle. The tech genie is out of the bottle. So let's put it this way. Let me put it this way, okay? Mechanics, and I don't mean just mechanics, right? So think of it as technicians, diagnosticians in every field. But because I'm a car guy, you're car people, let's just stick in the world of mechanics. Mechanics have a superpower. So the superpower is this. Because of the nature of what we do, we need to break things down into simple, clear points. So you're going to diagnose a problem in a car. And first you have to weed out all of the non-relevant information, all the non-relevant things, okay? And you have to focus only on what that problem is. And then you have to go about this whole deductive reasoning, the flow sheet in your imagination. Check this. If it's not that, check this. If it's not that, check this. If it is that, go here. Yeah. So we do this automatically, right? It's wired into us. People who don't work in that realm don't develop those skills, those analytical skills that we as mechanics have. So while mechanics do have this superpower, we're able to look at things, analyze them quickly, get rid of the noise, and only focus on correcting the problem, and then actually going ahead and doing the physical work that it takes to fix that problem, we have a different mindset. Not every mechanic chooses to use this superpower. They keep it limited to just their field. And then they say, well, you know what, when I go out into the world, I'm just going to be a normie. I'm just going to go along with the program, go along to get along. Because when you start actually breaking things down and so you take your mechanical skills and you focus them, let's say, on the economy, or you focus them on whatever it happens to be, politics. When you take those analytical skills and your ability to eliminate the noise and get right to the truth, it leads to conflict, because people who don't have those skills, they resent you for it. We've all lost, anybody who's stepped out of the box, we've all lost friends, we've all lost family, we've all been called insane. You suffer the slings and arrows of being the person, I could see what's going on here. I try to tell you what's going on, but you can't see it, so does that make any sense? So when you take that analytical superpower that you develop over a lifetime of messing around with machines, problem solving and repairing machines, and you lay it over the bigger picture, then you start to see, well, yeah, the Great Reset is not just an idea. It's not a conspiracy thing. It's something that's actually happening, and we're reaching the breaking point now where the average person, the normie, they're mad right now, and that they're getting madder, but they're also reaching a dead end because AI is coming for their lunch. Now, when my kids were little, and this is kind of what I'm talking about as far as like, you start talking about what would be common sense to us, to people who don't have that analytical mindset and practice the analytical lifestyle that a mechanic does. I used to tell them, and I've told many young people this, they want to go to school, right? They want to get a degree in this, or they want to get whatever it happens to be. They want to go to work in the corporate world, and they want to, live a clean life. They don't want hands that look like this. They don't want to be covered with scars and stuff like that. They want to live clean lives. And I've always said, that's fine. Go for it. Do that. But always have a trade to fall back on, so that you do go into the corporate world and things change. You don't get along with your boss. They relocate, they downsize, they do whatever. You're not lost. You can always pick up your trade, you know what I mean? And go about your trade until, let's say, another opening in that chosen line of work opens up, if it opens up. Point is, a trade is something that cannot be taken from you. The knowledge to do whatever that trade is, that's yours. You own that. You have total control over that. And because you have control over it, you can control your life and your destiny with it. See, through my life, I've done 1,000 different things, but I always did them, including YouTube. I always did them. I've always gone into like some pretty crazy things, knowing that if this does not pan out, well, it's no problem. I got my tools. I got my tools. I know how to fix things. I'll just go back to that. That's the importance of having a trade. So now things have accelerated in this great reset. I know a lot of people are tuning out. He's talking conspiracy nut. Go ahead, come back for the next video when we talk about pistons. Things have moved into the next phase where it's becoming obvious to people. AI has I talk about AI as if it's a person or a sentient being, and it's not. But the use of AI, the prevalence of AI, has now become front and center. People are realizing that all of these jobs, all of these positions, all of these things that people have done for generations now are going to become obsolete. There is no need for paper pushers anymore. There is no need for any of that middle management. It's gone. The majority of people in our culture are part of that. They work jobs that don't have a tangible physical product. They don't produce anything. AI cannot build a porch. AI, and it never will be able to, AI cannot unclog a drain. AI cannot rebuild a differential. AI cannot take the place of manual trades. And this is an important thing going forward. You know, the boomer chair, which did I mention this came from Cracker Barrel? Yeah, it's a Cracker Barrel chair. And think about all the stuff's going on with that now. A small bit of the bigger picture. Let's not get sidetracked. People, the younger generations, boomers have such a bad name, right? And for good reason. You know, because the boomer generation, and I'm at the very tail end. I was born in '62. The boomer generation ends in '64. So yes, I'm lumped in with them. But we're not all greedy, evil, controlling parasites. Honestly, we're not. Some of us really actually do want to see the younger generation succeed. We want to see you guys do good. We want to see you have the cars and the house and the family and the satisfying life that comes with controlling your own destiny. We want that. At least I want that for you. And a good portion of my boomer peers want that too. So don't lump us all into the same group. We're not like that. If you're a younger person, you need to realize that this reset that we're up against right now is really a call for action. You can see it now. You see how everything is imploding. The economy, you know, the economy's been imploding for decades, but we're reaching the end game. All of these systems that have been in place for generations now are all evaporating. They're becoming irrelevant. They're becoming obsolete. And a lot of these jobs and the way of life that has been presented as normal to you, that's evaporating too. Now is a time for action. Now is a time, if you're a younger person, and when I say, I mean, well, not just a younger person, but if you're a functional person, you're still out there in the world trying to make things happen. This is action time. If you don't have a trade, something that AI can't replace, that's got to be your priority. That's like number one. Learn something, do something that AI cannot take the place of. Use AI as your tool. AI is my bitch. I use AI. I use AI all the time. I use it in the form of, well, I mean, everything from MapQuest on the phone to YouTube. I use, YouTube is AI. Okay, so it's a double-edged sword. The YouTube algorithm is AI. It's artificial intelligence. I've been dealing with artificial intelligence now for the last 7 years I'm doing this. I use it to my advantage. It knows, it makes its decisions, how it wants things, and then I give it what it wants, and in return I get what I want. I use the AI to my advantage whenever possible. That's a double-edged sword because at the same time, Every time I go scrolling through YouTube videos, I see AI remakes of my videos. I've got like 1,500 videos up, and AI picks popular ones and rehashes them and sticks them back out there again. So I'm actually competing with an AI version of what I do. Everybody who's in YouTube right now is dealing with this. Is it going to take my place? No, I don't think so. I think that an authentic personality will always have and I don't mean just mine per se, but I mean just anybody who has an authentic personality and an authentic perspective. I think they'll always have a place. I think there'll always be a market, but it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. But let's just say AI does take my place. Like for instance, if I did nothing but tutorials, if I did nothing but, here's how to troubleshoot and repair, a headlight in this type of car, whatever it happens to be, AI's taken that job. Because they can do it quicker and more concise than I ever could. But if you're offering perspective like this, for example, I ain't worried about it. And if AI does, if the number of views that AI takes from us, and AI does take views from us, gets to the point where it's not profitable to do this business anymore, well, fine. I have my tools, and I have my skill, and I have my trade, and I know people in my area, and I'll just pick up and turn wrenches, and I'll pay my bills that way. I go without worry. This is a time, the Great Reset is a real thing. It has been a real thing. It's been happening slowly for many, many years. And us analytical-minded people, mechanics who choose to, actually look at the world, have been able to connect those dots, eliminate the noise, connect the dots, and we're like the soothsayers of the old days. It's like, yes, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. Well, AI is coming to eat your lunch. If you're not part of the physical world where you produce something that's tangible, that's useful, that can only be done manually. See, it's such the opposite. For generations now, young people have been conditioned to believe that manual labor is demeaning. Getting your hands dirty, that's the domain of lesser beings. You go take this corporate job and climb that corporate ladder and do whatever abstract, obscure thing that you do and get that paycheck. But those days are over. That's a big part of this reset. I see it as, and I've said this before, this is going to be a golden age for people who work with their hands. People who are industrious and creative and not afraid to dig in and actually turn wrenches or whatever it happens to be. If you're the person who can go and pull the baby cow out of the mama cow when it's stuck in there, you win. Ultimately, you win. The person who, the middle management, and I don't mean to demean anybody if that's your job, if that's what you do, that's fine. What I'm saying is that those days are rapidly coming to an end. Look at what's happening with the cities, the big cities. Vacant office buildings everywhere. You can't turn that around. At one point, those office buildings were necessary. People had to be in each other's faces, in sharing close proximity to get things done. Here, you hand this over to Herb, right? Well, it's not like that anymore now. It's all done electronically, remotely. It's not necessary. And so the upkeep of these big buildings and the upkeep of the city that these big buildings exist in, well, it's no longer relevant. And that's why you see what's happening in all of, New York and Los Angeles and Philadelphia and San Francisco. All of these cities are just like, they're all imploding because they're not necessary anymore. Which is another thing to think about. And I don't want to go into too many different tangents here because I could literally talk about this for days. The reset is also going to cause a great relocation. And that's an important thing to consider at this point. Because, again, the systems that have been in place, the ways of the old world, they function less and less every day. They become more and more irrelevant every day. And so you really need to look around and say, okay, I'm self-sufficient. I have my skill, I have my trade, I have some savings, I'm good, I'm diversified. But what about the people around you? What about the area around you? How dependent are they on this system as it has existed? And how will they be dislocated as this technological thing, as this revolution goes on? How is it going to affect them? Because in some places, not only is it ugly now, but man, it is going to get so much uglier. And you really need to look around where you're at. Who are you surrounded by? What are you surrounded by? How dependent is your area? How dependent is your life on systems that may no longer function? The systems are only, the system, the big system, doesn't exist for you. It exists to support itself. And when something becomes irrelevant to that system, it discards it. And that's what you're seeing right now in real time in these cities. Some of it is deliberate, some of it is planned, some of it has been engineered for a long time to create certain results, and it's all it's all coming to a head right now. You live in interesting times. These are great times. These are times for incredible opportunity, as long as you're ready for them. The Great Reset is going to come with a great relocation. Survey your landscape. Are you in a safe place? Are you in a place that will remain relevant to the ongoing existence of our species? Or are you in a place that only existed or only prospered for a period of time where that situation, people actually having to write things down with pen and paper and hand it to somebody else? Are you in that situation, which has become and is becoming every day more and more irrelevant? You can't turn the technological clock back. You cannot unlearn what has been learned, right? Unless you're NASA, and you happen to misplace all of the telemetry and whatnot that it took for you to get to the moon like almost 60 years ago. So now the best you can achieve is low Earth orbit. But so obviously there are examples where you can forget and technology can be, unlearned. But that's not going to happen in the bigger picture. There's going to be a lot of ugliness. Do what you can to not be a part of it. You know what I mean? And now the people, those of us who've been trying to tell people, us mechanics, and I mean that in a bigger sense, who've been trying to tell people for a long time, it's coming. Well, now they're feeling a pain, they're feeling a pinch, and maybe it's time that they'll start listening to you. I don't know, fingers crossed. All right, like I said, I could go on with this topic, this discussion for hours. And I already see some of the comments. You're blaming on capitalism. You idiot. It has nothing to do with capitalism. Predatory capitalism is a different story, right? But no, it's not capitalism. Capitalism is not the boogeyman. Capitalism is what all good things actually come from, because it's incentive. Capitalism offers incentive. Predatory capitalism lets the psychopaths and the snakes get to the top and then write their own rules, and then, well, welcome to the modern world. All right, guys, that's it for now. Boomer chair back in the other room, and I have an engine to build. I have a big puddle of transmission fluid that I got to clean up under that car. I'll see you tomorrow.